Class right now? Okay. So in the last class, we are discussing about, I think, on agricultural diffusion and regional specificities. And today we'll learn about the energy sources. So, sorry. Uh, shall I stop this video and I can talk to you in audio mode? Is it possible? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Because here network problem will be there, as because I am in college and it may occur. So shall I do this or we'll start? Anyway, let me start with this video and we'll continue. If sometimes there will be problem, then we'll go for audio also. Anyway, so the historical information on energy resources for any pre-industrial societies uh, is very less for us. And so, first of all, let us know what is energy. Energy is generally understood to carry the meaning of the source of strength that is necessary for performing various kinds of activities. Most of the forms of energy are selfish and not easy to be subjected to physical verification. So, energy, the forms of energy broadly arise between inanimate natural forms and animate forms of energy. And uh, when we step on the industrial societies, electrical and nuclear forms add up. So, for a very long span of time in history, barring the energy emitted by sun, humans have depended upon the animate sources of energy. In the initial stage of development, human physical power was considered as the primary source of energy. So, for all those long centuries of human existence, when agriculture had not developed and hunting gathering activities were the principal mode of living, the physical process of humans was the principal source of energy. As we know that man had to fight with the animals for his food. Because and sometimes animals attack them for their food also, because in jungle everything is possible. The animals can take the life of the human being, or human being can also take the life of the animals. He there in the jungle, might is right. So whoever will be powerful, he will kill others. So in that case, the physical process or physical energy of human being was the main source for him. This process was augmented with the help of stone tools and implements that were manufactured under an organized method. So in the last class, we are discussing about the stone tools, that is in the in the Paleolithic period, in Mesolithic period, and in Neolithic period. So in people in different times had developed these stone tools in order to attack the animals. These his energy, his physical energy, along with this what these some tools or weapons, the stone weapons that man used for hunting was very much essential. Pencil may be made of medicinal as a mechanical device called spring, which accumulated energy and releases it suddenly when it required. It is fast known use and of continuing importance was in the bow used to shoot arrows, and in hunting and in the battle too. So, in due course of time, man started using this bow and arrow. Dhanudar, nahi? So the first unequivocal representation of it dating back from the latter Paleolithic times. in North Africa. Next to be utilized by the humans was perhaps animal energy. So, as in the last class, I was telling you that man domesticated animals for his own interest, for food purpose and for hunting purpose. Animals like horses, then dogs, and sometimes any elephant. These animals helped human being in hunting purposes also. So the details of the emergence of the pastoral practices. So we have discussed in the last class, animals as the source of energy were utilized in numerous spheres of life. They were also important source of food for human beings. As I said, animal power was harnessed for use as drought power to be utilized in agriculture. In due course of time, also man started using animals for the agriculture purpose, for plowing and for other purposes. So the utility of animal power had become so evident to agriculturists that in peninsular India, the Neolithic sites, uh, there we find a large number of livestock maintained by the people. Animals provided the energy for the transportation purpose also. Means animals like donkey, elephant, and other horses also. So these animals were used for carrying out the goods and even the human beings from one place to another. Only humans first made control the use of an external inanimate energy source when they discovered the use of fire. Burning dried plant matter and animal waste, they employed the energy from the biomass of heating and cooking. So as we in present day, particularly in rural areas, we in villages, people are still using this cow dung as their fuel. So till date it is using. People are using. So it was in a prehistoric period we find that people used biomass for heating and cooking also. For heating purposes, humans were dependent on the forest resources. The forest resources were also extensively used as raw material for various other purposes such as housing and making furniture, carts, agricultural tools, musical instruments, and numerous other handicrafts. So, in humanity's only attempt to harness in animate natural forms of energy, water occupies a central position. Besides being a key life sustaining source for most of the living, being includes human, the irrigation potential of water for sustaining agriculture has also been discovered. So, as we know that water is very much essential for human being. Water is life. Without water, man cannot sustain. Not man alone, not in any creature on this world. Means living creatures, everybody who needs water. So the first civilization in India, as also elsewhere in the world, was riparian in character, but the most important thing that in the last class also I have discussed, that how man started living in the river valley areas, because water is very much essential for his livelihood. So in not much early evidence on this matter has been garnered. Anyway, so we found the river valleys in almost all the developed civilizations of the world, ancient developed civilizations of the world. The next major development was the use of water and wind energy. One of the most important uses of water energy was in agriculture, as I said, and sometimes uh, they cultivated fields through channels has been an old practice, or making channel or canal type of thing from the river for irrigation purpose. These ancient men started doing that. The evidence from Harappan settlement suggests that small ponds were erected across the rivers to use the flow energy of water for spreading fresh alluvial soil along the banks. This soil was then used as agricultural field. The knowledge of Harappans about water energy is further supported by the discovery of famous dockyard at Lothal. Dockyard means seaport. That at Lothal in Gujarat, we find this place, means there was port, means they had started doing trade and commerce through water route, through water transportation. And this dockyard at Lothal proves that man had started doing business on this through water transportation. A very early use of water energy was in driving wheels, another kind of energy. The evidence relates to about 2nd or 1st century BC news that the wheel was submerged in running water, which made it run. And we can also take the example that man started using wheel for different purposes. Wheel was used for making pots. Wheel was also used for making means for riding purposes, for creating this Ratha type of vehicle, which was used for transportation, and cart also, they bullock carts, and they started using. So this shows that man started using the cart, means the wheel, for these kind of different purposes. The only water wheels first used to drive mills for grinding grain were also subsequently adopted to drive swell mills and pumps to provide the uh, action for harnesses and horses. So, and another energy, as well as telling that wind energy. Wind energy was utilized for
Hello,
burning purposes.
sir.
Hello?
I have a
Huh?
doubt regarding water rights in India.
Water?
Usually a question always comes discuss water rights in India.
Water, sorry, I couldn't hear. Water
Water
rise.
rights, rights. The question comes in exams, and this is a very important question.
Water rights, or what do you
Yes,
tell?
sir.
It's
Rights.
not a RIGST.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it RIGST or what's? Acha. So water right means in which
हाँ
period?
ठीक है.
Is there
नो
any?
सर वही वही जो आप बोल
Sorry.
रहे हैं वही है सेम.
No, you can
नो
write
सर
all these things.
पीरियड तो नहीं है सर बस. ओ
Water rights,
तो सर
is it
क्या.
comes in the in this history paper, or
नो सर दिस इज.
environmental paper,
सर
or
इसी. नहीं सर इसी पेपर का है सर
in?
इन्वायरमेंटल.
अच्छा, इस पेपर में आता है. Anyway, so
जी
you
जी.
can write all these things. What sort of, see, when we are discussing history part, we should write on that only.
हम्म.
When your water right, you can come to this what the government policies you can write, but this is not applicable for right, means regarding historical development of water, means the use of water by human being, what sort of right was there, or what sort of people in which way used water, you can write that. So Uh, Anyway, so like water mills, windmills were
Okay.
among the original prime movers that replaced animal muscle as a source of energy. They were used for centuries in various parts of the world, converting the energy of the wind into mechanical energy for grinding grain, pumping water, and draining lowland areas. The first known wind device was described by Alexandria in first century AD. The earliest known references to wind-driven grain mills found in Arabic writings in 9th century AD refer to a Persian millwright of 644 AD. One of the limitations of both the water wheel and the windmills was that it was usually necessary for for the power they generated to be utilized on the spot. So, as with water wheel, it is difficult to estimate the power output of the windmills. Other important development with regard to energy utilization had been the discovery of a device by Michael Faraday, who converted mechanical energy into electric energy in latter times, in modern, most probably in modern period. So the concept of conservation, energy conservation is related with the theory that energy remains constant and it only changes its form from one form to another. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can be changed from one form to another, as we have learned it in our school days. That energy is changeable. It changes from one mode of action to another mode of action. The conservation of energy is not a description of any process going on in nature, but rather it is a statement that the quantity called energy remains constant regardless of when it is evaluated. So, thus these energy sources help human being in different way to for its livelihood. To in the early days, we have seen that how man used his own power, human power, for hunting and gathering. Then it used water energy, wind energy, so wheel energy. So this kind of things were used during this period. Next, we'll go to the water resources. In this, we'll discuss about this water rights also, as one of you was asking. We'll discuss on this water rights. We'll discuss how man used this kind of resource. Who was asking this water rights?
तो मैं बोल रही थी.
Wilson Ara. Okay. So we'll learn that. Huh? So you have to write
Okay.
only the historical development, means how it developed. So all these things we will discuss. The Earth is sometimes as we call the water planet. And this is the only member in our solar system which has an abundant supply of water, as we all know what is used as a raw material for various metabolic processes. It is an important ecological factor. It is also very good solvent medium and has sustained life on Earth ever since the biological origins of the living human living organisms. As we know that water is very much essential for all of us, for all the creatures on this earth. So we'll discuss one by one water as a resource. So water is one of the important substances necessary for life. Water covers 75% of the earth's surface, as well as our body also. Our body constitutes 75% of water. So water, that is whenever it falls and we feel uneasy, and water is very much needed for our life when we feel sick. If without water we'll feel sick. So the ocean also contain 97% of all the water on the earth. Much of the remainder is frozen in glaciers, and hardly 1% of water constitute the ice-free fresh water in rivers, lakes, ponds, etc. So we are utilizing only less than 1% water for our purposes. That is also we are not being used total form. We cannot use total 1%. The whatever is necessary for human being, we are using that. It is this negligible amount of total available water that sustains all forms of terrestrial and aquatic life. There are subterranean reserves of water at a very deep levels, also at shallow depths and trapped in the soils also. So water, if we'll discuss the properties and distribution, water in its fluid form doesn't exist on any other planet in our solar system and is thus an exclusive privilege available to the inhabitants of the planet Earth. Only a certain distance from the sun do we find the right temperatures that permit water to exist in liquid form. If we would be just nearer to the sun, then perhaps there would be no water. The other unique property connected with water is that we got this right of water because we are far from sun. So that's why we are getting this right of water from the earth has got the right of water. Of course, there are other planets too, but it is the only planet which has water. The other unique property connected with water is that it becomes most dense as temperatures falls to plus 4 degrees centigrade. If we are at its heaviest at freezing point, then our lakes and waterways would freeze from the bottom up, jeopardizing fish and aquatic life. The stable water supply of Earth is used again and again in this cycle. About one third of solar energy is dissipated in driving the water cycle. So as we all know, we have read it in our school days regarding the water cycle, how water is being evaporated to the sky and again it comes in the form of rain. So this is called as water cycle. Sun makes water evaporate from the ocean, lakes and streams. This evaporation makes clouds which fall back on earth in the form of water and or snow. Some of this water percolates through soil until it reaches saturation point. So rest of the water returns to its original point, that is the sea. The cycle keeps replenishing the water requirements of the world. So India is a country of rivers. There are 12 major rivers with total catchment area of 252.8 million hectares. Tanks and ponds have around 2.9 million hectares area. Reservoirs have found 2.1 million hectare area, whereas smaller rivers and canals occupy 7.7 million hectare area. So most of the area under tanks and ponds are located in southern states of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, followed by West Bengal, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, etc. The groundwater situation in different parts of the country is as varied as the surface water situation in the high relief areas of northern and northeastern region occupied by the Himalayan ranges, the various hills ranges of Rajasthan, the central and the southern Indian regions, the presence of very steep slope conditions and geologic structures offer extremely high runoff and thus very little scope for rainwater to find favorable conditions of storage and circulation as groundwater. Now let us now discuss about the issues use, means in what way we are using this water. As water is essential condition of life in this planet, Water resources have been a decisive factor in the growth and sustenance of human civilization on Earth. All the civilizations were distinctively and predominantly riparian. Prime examples of ancient river valley civilizations, as we have already discussed about Egyptian civilization, Nile Valley, Egyptian civilization in Nile Valley, Mesopotamia civilization in Tigris and Euphrates, the Harappan civilization and Chinese civilization in Huangho River Valley. So these river valleys, in these river valleys, human beings were living and utilizing water for their livelihood and sustenance. So as a step on the period of history of which written records become available, we get regular occurring information on the use of water as a resource. So keeping in mind the general slope of the city, several ponds were constructed across the width of the tanks to reduce the pressure of the stored body on the city walls. There were people who conserving means the people in ancient days also were conserving the water in different ways by making ponds. The entire drainage system could have been set up to assiduously conserve every drop of rainwater that fall in the city. So anyway, so as we know that in India has a distinct character of draining means drainage system in Indus Valley civilization. Even today, we do not find in the roadside we do have the drainage system. Nowadays, drainage system is being given importance, and even the most interesting thing is that our drainage systems are uncovered while the drainage system in Indus Valley civilization where it was covered. So it shows how much sense of sanitation was there among the people of Indus Valley people, Indus Valley civilization, rather the so-called modern people of 21st century, as we call ourselves of modern, ultra modern, and all these things for ourselves in order to give credit that we are the most developed nations of the world. So this is what we are doing, but in ancient days, people are more hygienic than us. They had the sense of sanitation, more sanitation than us. So the importance of water for agricultural societies during the Vedic period must have increased flow of water channels for irrigation purpose was practiced. And in case of Mauryans, the founder of the one of the earliest empires gave special importance on water resources. On the authority of Kautilya, we know that the building reservoirs by damming streams was the important public work the king was encouraged to construct. Similarly, Ashoka refers to his edicts to the construction of wells and watering animals, watering places along the major routes. The epigraphic evidence testifies to the construction of big stream big water reservoir by in the Junagadh district of Gujarat by Pushyagupta. And in case of Odisha, we can find that in Hathigumpha inscription in the fifth regnal year, in the fifth year of his rule, Kharavada constructed a canal from Tansulia to Kalinganagar. Although he had reconstructed it, as it is said that it was constructed by a Nanda king 300 years back. However, this evident was happened in first century BC. So, in the fourth century, in case of Odisha, we are telling. So, in 14th century, a very elaborate.
Founder थे
Sorry.
Nanda dynasty ର founder
Nanda dynasty ର founder the Mahapadmananda the so in the Mahapadmananda had attacked, it is said that Mahapadmananda had attacked Kalinga, then Kalinga in 300 years back or before the before Kharavala's reign. So anyway, uh, in 14th century, a very elaborate network of canals was constructed by Firuz Tughlaq. The rivers from which the canals were cut were Jamuna, Satluj, and Ghaggar. An additional water tax was levied on the farmers of the irrigated areas due to greater and more secure availability of water. Production of cash crops had also encouraged. In South India, great emphasis was laid on careful use of water resources. The system of tanks, large, small and large both, and the mechanism of their regular upkeep from a very early time is too well known. A comprehensive survey of water harvesting system in India has been undertaken by the Center of Science and Environment, and their compilation of results was of survey published under the title Dying Wisdom. So water conservation is very much an essential. Water is a renewable resources, but it is also finite. It has a limit. If we'll finish all the water, then the way we are using water, one day a day will come. There will be world war, maybe war or world war for water. In India also, we do find the people of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu are fighting for water. In Odisha also, we are still demanding that Madhya Pradesh has taken away our water that is flowing through the Mahanadi River, and by making construction of the dams, so that the water is not flowing as it was earlier. So government there is different cases has been lodged in the Supreme Court, and the case is going on, and the mediation between under the mediation or the central government is a mediator between the two, and anyway, this kind of controversy is going on between Madhya Pradesh, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. So these kind of things are going on for water. A time will come, water is limited in nature, and if there will be at a time there may be war. So water conservation has a long history going back to earliest times. The need for conservation at that time was perhaps to save water for the lean period of the year. It was conservation directed at quantity as quality. So particularly conservation was made for irrigation purposes and to protect the lives of human beings in different areas, different localities. Another source of water, that is the running water, but particularly the flood water, was very nicely utilized by past cultures. We have the evidence of Singavarapura near Allahabad on the banks of the river Ganga, and how people utilize this water by making flow through the plain area and making it the alluvial soil for the cultivation purpose. So, a very interesting method of water harvesting is practiced by Jarvas in Andaman. Although Andaman Islands have an annual rainfall of 3,000 millimeter, it runs off rapidly due to erratic physiography of the place. The Jarvas use full-length split bamboos. An entire length of bamboo is cut longitudinally and placed along a gentle slope with the lower end leading into a shallow pit. So by this they are conserving the water. In similar type of structure we find in Jing in Ladakh and in Ahar in South Bihar. A very useful method of water conserving of irrigation was developed by Paliwal Brahmins in the arid region of Rajasthan. Another unique method of rainwater harvesting is known as Haveli, as in practice, which is practiced in Madhya Pradesh. The area is very heavy black clay which can hold a large amount of water. but when it dries, it becomes hard and develops wide cracks. So bonds are created to rainwater released few days before sowing by an opening and embankment. So anyway, so now let us know about this water rights as one of you had asked. The details of the issues, use practice given ever make it clear that water has been considered as a useful essential issues. Therefore, rights to it have also been jealously safeguarded. In ancient times, population was very limited and it was often possible for individuals or communities to settle differences in many cases by simply moving on and exploiting new source. The scale of water available in most situations and cumulative uses, even for irrigation, seldom threatened others with deprivation. Customary rights or uses regulated most transactions. Gradually, greater rights began to be exercised, and in many cases, the state initiated the practice of leaving ceases on the use of water supply and the water drawn from the state built reservoirs or such similar devices. No codified procedures, though, had come into practice. It was, however, from the 19th century onwards, the water laws for various uses began to be invoked. This trend was further strengthened with the multiple uses and increasing diversions for consumptive commercial use, which were often conflicting in practice. With rapid population growth placing more and more pressure on dwindling supplies, per capita access to water is falling, ancient usage pattern is being challenged by the new claims. More than 200 countries in the world have to share their common resource of surface and groundwater, transcending their political boundaries. The competition for the world's water resource is becoming major continuous political issue of our time. As I was saying, that a time will come when there will be war or maybe world war for this water or use of water or the water right, we can better say. Shortage of water, quality of water, and management of water are the three issues being discussed in the contemporary world. And uh, as because we are always demanding purified water, and when the summer season comes, that always we demand water, water, and water. So it is limited in nature. So we have to take care of it. It was very believed. It was believed for a very long time that water in a natural stream was not the subject of property, but a wandering thing without owner. However, this understanding underwent a significant change in the industrial world and the issue of water rights come into existence. When different industries used a huge amount of water, this water right came into existence. The genesis of water rights is generally traced to the waters to the rights of navigation in rivers that often formed the boundary between the two states. Rivers that formed natural boundaries or flowed through successive domains or territories and came to be used as common highway were supposedly open to all for communal communication and commerce. So sometimes there is dispute over this use of water or right of water. Or take for example, as I was telling you that the Tamil Nadu between the fight between water right between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, and in case of Odisha, that Odisha is claiming that we have the right to use the water of Mahanadi, but it is being stopped by Madhya Pradesh. So this is not good at all. So this, and even Chhattisgarh also, it is also utilizing this water. So there is always a tough war is going on for this water rights. These disputes were basically on conjunctive uses. How man is utilizing water for consumption, and the scenario changed as world saw a rapid race of industrialization, political issues of boundary alignment, and along wayward rivers tended to be settled on the principle of median line. Historically, there have been following principles defining the water rights. Riparian doctrine. There are the private property right in water only to those whose land abutted the river was viable theory so long as the people living away from river satisfied their needs from other resources. Another theory is the prior appropriation theory. According to this theory, water in the natural course is the property of the public. It's in fact a suitable version of the riparian theory, which puts the all-year appropriation rights holders on advantage over all subsequent users. Then the third one is the territorial sovereignty theory. According to this theory, the owner has an absolute right. This notion of private property, when extrapolated for the entire domain of natural resources, generates territorial sovereignty principles. Then another equitable appropriation theory is that equity is a legal or judicial notion before it provides basis for legal interpretation. It says that treat all claimants as equal rights holders for water. Then the equitable utilization theory, it also says distribute the resources, particularly water equitable, such as optimum utilization occurs for all concerned when all relevant factors are taken into taken into account. Then public trust theory. So it emphasizes the principles of distributive justice need to be based on only a notion of private property rather than one should consider natural resource a common property and sovereignty or state as its only trust. The theory says that the state which holds the natural water as a trustee is duty bound to distribute or utilize the water in such a way that it does not violate the natural rights of any individual or group and safeguards the interest of the public and sociology, public and ecology. So, how the interests of or how the rights of the human being in water management will be maintained, that is the duty of the public. Now, let us go for the forest resources. So, did you understand something about this? Is Gulshan Ara? Did you understand something about the rights? And you can, if you read, you'll also gain much more knowledge on that water rights. So, next we'll go to forest resources. So, what do you mean by forest resource? That the resource we get from the forest or the jungles, uh, uh, actually man utilizes the forest for his own interest. And since from the beginning, uh, as hunter gatherers, agricultural societies, and even the industrial society has been contact having contact with the forest in some form or the other. The so now we will discuss about the changing notion of forest as a resource. Forests have been examined here with respect to various raw materials they supplied. Evidently, there is complexity related to the historical understanding of the forest as a concept. In the same time, in the same time span, forests were understood differently by people belonging to different cultures. It is very difficult to provide universally applicable set of characteristics of forests. The term jungle used to denote forest in contemporary India is problematic. The characteristics of forest are best understood in terms of man-forest relationship in history. Recent past has shown increasing incognity in the man-forest relationship. Now, forest coverage, complex physiographic, climatic, and pedagogical conditions have given rise to many as 30,000 species of plants in the country, ranging from thorny bushes to evergreen forests. Forests are dominant natural vegetal cover in India. The earliest reference of human settlement in India can be traced back to the culture of 2 million years old approximately, that is the stone chapas. Two technological traditions are known uh, from this stage. The Swannian and Achulian group of people living Swannian culture was confined to Siwaliks and Achulian spread from Siwalik hills in the north to Madras in the south. The next important phases of human settlement in India termed as European civilization. The civilization emerged basically in the semi-arid regions of north-western India and absence of written records regarding this use of forest. So now let us discuss what sort of objects were being made from this wood. Toys were made of wood, wood handles for copper tools, are sickles, axes, and adze, wooden carts, their assembly components, and their wheels, wooden boards and their sails, etc., potter's wheel, etc. The next significant period is the one occupied by the Vedic civilization. Vedic resources portray close relationship between man and forest. The forest lies on the village horizon and is in a certain sense integrated into village life. The period from 500 BC to 300 AD saw large-scale colonization of fertile forest lands both in the North India and the river valley areas. A greater colonization meant greater availability of surplus. Thus, tribal chiefdoms started giving way to large areas, large states. Mauryas and Kushanas in ground for further exploitation. So, in different areas like Kosambi, there was infested with wild animals, means forest areas, forest reservoirs. In Mungir, which is forest between Magadha and this region, then Kalinga, forest between it and Congo, the having wild animals, Andhra forests and South Kosa, Chola. So these were the forest reservoirs were defined. The Delhi Sultanate phase saw a change in agriculture. The total population, both human being and livestock, increased as did the number of cities and towns. So a number of forest produce we do get from the jungles, salt timber, spikenard, teak timber, then gulmlak, alloy wood, honey, sai timber, ebony, bamboo, sunload, then notice how you find timber, gomlak, beeswax, then levels of interaction. Forest man interaction should be visualized in the context of the social relevance of the forest. The process of evolution from simple social formations of hunter gathering to complex social formations of industrial society. The sole provider, the earliest stage of social formation, have been termed as hunting gathering, where to a great extent the physical needs of humans were catered to the forests. So, ancillary product with the development of agricultural as resource for food, the relations between man and forest underwent a drastic change. For agricultural societies, forest use assumed secondary position. However, one should be careful to realize that the shift to agriculture was a risky proposition. Then conservation practices, the importance of timber as discussed above had been grown enormously. Wood had multiple uses ranging from its use as the basic resource of energy. So uh, conservation of wood is very much essential in Rajasthan, especially in the central and western parts. The vegetation was very sparse and there were very few forests. So, thus the forest is the natural growth of vegetation, not requiring human intervention. The variety of vegetation is to strengthen and testimony of its originality. Forest as a source has been used by humans ever since the origins of the human being. So now we'll move to the mental and mineral resources. So metal and mineral resources. Metal is a solid material which is hard, shiny, malleable, fusible, and ductile with good electrical and thermal conductivity. Similarly, mineral is defined as an inorganic substance of natural occurrences that is usually obtained by mining. The term mineral used is derived from the term mine or excavation. So, utilization of this advantage required in a practice a complex of indigenous inventions, a furnace with a drought fusion to produce the relatively high temperature requisite for fusion crucible to contain the molten metal. So, man, and metallurgy is one of the oldest applied sciences. Its history can be traced back to 6000 BC when its form was rudimentary, and we find different types of metals like gold, copper, then at last the iron also came, then arsenic, antimony, zinc, bismuth, platinum. So all these were utilized. Gold was used in 6000 BC, copper was utilized in 4200 BC, silver was utilized in 4000 BC, lead 3500 BC, tin 1750 BC, then iron 1500 BC. So these were the earliest metals that were used in different periods. So as we find, and that gold, copper, then bronze, silver, iron, so for lead, then mercury, then this historical evolution of metals, the Sumerian city states are considered as the first metal using civilization. Then coppers were used in India. In case of India, India witnessed a sequence of cultures using both stone and copper tools, known as Chalcolithic cultures. The motivation in the Chalcolithic culture was the use of new technology of smelting and crafting bronze artifacts. The copper working in India have been antiquity dating back to the second millennium BC. Then iron, the studies focusing on the history of the introduction of iron in India have been earlier believed that iron was introduced between 600 to 700 BC. But this again a question of this is a question mark. The problem probable date of production of iron in India is 800 BC. The use of iron in India in earliest reported from central India and southern India. Then zinc was also utilized. The to be classified as true mineral substance must be solid and have a crystal structure, chemistry, and crystal structure defined together as mineral. A mineral is a naturally occurring inorganic substance with a definite chemical composition and a crystalline structure. So, one of the common use of minerals by humans has been in dietary form. They are inorganic compounds necessary for life and good nutrition. Some of these are minerals as salt, others are potassium, calcium, iron, zinc, magnesium, and copper, etc. So the inclusion of metal technology introduced some complexities to the patterns of living, for instance, determining who was to control the new technology. So anyway, this was all about your metal and mining energy. So we discussed forest energy, water energy, wind energy. So all this kind of energy, then metal and mining energy, we also discussed. In the next class, we will discuss about other aspects of your paper. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.